Hi, I'm Chuck Missler, and I'd like to speak to you this evening from the heart. Have you noticed the moral decay throughout your land? Corruption is everywhere, throughout the highest levels of government, in your entertainments, in your schools, and even in many of your churches. Many of those in the corridors of power should be incarcerated for treason. Leaders who fail to exhibit the most elementary ethical conduct. Legislatures that sign bills they haven't even read. Executives who are allowed to ignore the laws. Judges who reverse juries, amend laws, and indulge in social engineering. The entertainment industry celebrates every imaginable evil and attacks all the family values which God has established for our welfare. And our educational establishment, which deliberately dumbs down and corrupts our youth. There was a day when you could rely on the fiduciary posture of your advisors, counselors, and professionals. Today, that would be naive and hazardous. Every day, the litany of non-constitutional abuses continue unabated. Every day, self-destructive policies extend their reach. Every day, it grows darker. Every day, the debts grow larger. They're already beyond any semblance of reality. There's 140 trillion at last count, and growing. 16.8 trillion in current national debt, plus the 123 trillion unfunded liabilities for Social Security, Medicaid, and other entitlement programs. That's almost $400,000 for every man, woman, and child. The U.S. government borrows 4 out of every $10 it spends. The cancer of entitlement mentality has even infected the middle class. The growing dependence of seeking government handouts ignores the reality that the only assets the government has are yours. To fulfill the growing collective expectations, they will increasingly confiscate your assets to fulfill their ambitions. In fact, President Obama has signed Executive Order 13603, which authorizes the U.S. government to confiscate from its citizens whatever it feels is necessary. The problem with socialism, Margaret Thatcher pointed out, is that you soon run out of other people's money. Boy, she's right on point. As the centroid of geopolitical power on the planet Earth continues its shift westbound, abandoning the United States, you can also see a cloud of spiritual darkness emerging on our eastern horizon. Europe, mired in the grip of socialism, is now also discovering the sinister agenda and deadly demographics of Islam. The Middle East continues to boil, continually threatening lives everywhere. Those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it. America, likewise, has now become the victim of a leadership committed to everything we once abhorred. Every time I pass a military cemetery, I'm reminded that it is filled with the bodies of patriots who gave their lives fighting everything that our current leadership is now committed to. Your founders worked very hard to avoid the instabilities of a democracy. It was liberty and freedom that garnered their sacrifices. It was a constitutional republic they gave us, but our complacency and apathy has allowed it to get trampled into the dust of myopic expediencies. It is debatable whether it can ever be reestablished. You are now shackled to the chains of debts which can never be repaid. If you don't have a copy of the Founder's Bible on your coffee table, you probably have no idea what I'm talking about. Unless you were raised in a military family, you probably have only superficial generalities regarding our nation's founding and the sacrifices that made our freedoms possible. At least it would give your grandchildren a retrospective glimpse of the nostalgic dream which will soon be forgotten, only treasured as a distant memory. The light of freedom is quickly dimming, and you too are now heading into the tyranny of a police state and the slavery of debt. Both Washington and Wall Street are desperately trying to create the impression of a recovery. They insist on measuring progress on consumption rather than production. The difference, the deficit, is debt. America is now the world's largest debtor, frantically printing currency, expecting that foreign banks are foolish enough to overlook its eroding value. It's the greater fool theory on steroids. A painful blessing. That sounds like an oxymoron, doesn't it? How can a blessing be painful? Well, as the essential puncture of a delusion. When a child discovers there's no Santa Claus, that's painful but essential. And there also comes a time when even patriotism can be an obsolete form of idol worship. When I was in Boy Scouts, it was God and country. You didn't have to choose between them. It appears that the time has come when we all need to refocus our personal priorities on the kingdom that's coming. We need to reprioritize our personal commitments to the coming King. There was a time when God clearly blessed America. However, we then outlawed him from our schools and public places. We allowed our kids to be taught that the creation itself was some kind of cosmic accident. We shredded the fundamentals of life, marriage, fidelity, mutual commitment in our marriages and our other relationships. No wonder why our kids have no sense of destiny. They can't even find a job. Has God's abandonment wrath begun? Paul has given us a litmus test which reveals our status. That's Romans chapter 1, verse 18 to the last of the chapter, in which he reveals his specific judgment on any culture that fails to acknowledge him as creator. 3 times in Romans 1:24, 26, and 28. It is God who gives them over to that which is not convenient and so forth. Study it. It's a surprise. Throughout the entire history, since Pentecost, small groups of biblical believers have been struggling to remain faithful to the Word of God, but have been oppressed and persecuted by the local religious establishments. Even if all the established institutions become prostituted to serve the siren calls of social injustices, and there will be plenty to deal with, there remains a powerful alternative. But first we strongly admonish 3, in fact 4 steps. 3 will be familiar, the 4th is a surprise. Step number 1, get serious about your personal commitment to the coming King. Jesus is not a concept, a worthwhile tradition, a comfortable compromise in a sea of alternatives. He is real, he's alive, and he will soon be coming to take his throne, an appointment that was established before the foundation of the world. Step 2, repair your biblical illiteracy. Get into a weekly study group committed to the exposition of that supernatural book that may be gathering dust on your bookshelf. Step 3, if you're really serious, commit yourself to an aggressive spiritual growth program with others who are like-minded. The internet has now made all of man's knowledge only a few clicks away. And the spiritual resources now available are life-changing. And the Koinonia Institute is a unique think tank with committed members anxious to meet you. But there's also another opportunity entirely. It's an alternative. You know, Michael Behe developed an insight called irreducible complexity. Well, in its most basic form, ministry is composed of 3 essential components: education, experience, and enablement. Now, the first 2 of those are well provided by the Koinonia Institute, which is an effective alternative for at least 2 of the components, thanks to the internet. It is that 3rd aspect, enablement, which usually involves either joining a Christian organization or organizing the personal support to join an organization that requires it. However, there is now a unique alternative: to become part of a network of independent, individual, spiritual entrepreneurs working undercover within the encroaching spiritual darkness. And I want to suggest you take a look at our concept paper on this, which is on our website, kitrust.org. An alternative. This is step 4 I'm going to suggest. If you're really, really serious and are willing to commit yourself all the way to achieving a gold medallion within the Institute, you can also embark on a self-financing program to establish your own personal ministry as the Lord leads. For the truly committed, the Koinonia Missionary Fellowship now offers a unique approach to enablement. It's a club within a club, a self-governing gathering of KI Life members committed as underground ambassadors of our coming King. Each participant can participate in a combined parsonage pool which reimburses expenses in proportion to what he has put in the pool. He has his own skin in the game, if you will. And this pool is also augmented by supporting donations external to the membership. And only the earnings of the pool are employed. The assets remain in the ministry in perpetuity. The participant is supervised by his own peers, not a remote headquarters fiefdom of some kind. He is accountable to his own personal advisory board, individually selected from members of the KMF. You check it out on our website, www.kitrust.org. To join, simply sign the fiduciary covenant available on the website and purchase your KI Life membership through your usual channels. It will be deposited as your initial donation to your personal account in the Koinonia Parsonage Reserve. You'll also want to understand the use of a pledge as a significant means of leverage. So you do some study there. But in any case, you need a personal action plan. There is a cosmic war now approaching its final climax. And whatever you decide, you will have a significant destiny emerging within that coming turmoil. So with a sense of extreme urgency, I admonish you to study, assess, and prepare for the encroaching storm. Pray intensely about it, pray for discernment, and for resolve. Thanks for listening.